Hopefully you're familiar with the whole Collective Shout situation, this Australia-based feminist organization that recently began a whole campaign of trying to get Steam games censored. I guess maybe they've been doing it for a while, but recently they succeeded getting Steam to take down some adult games and implement a new policy that basically says they got to listen to payment processors' demands, which was the way that Collective Shout facilitated these takedowns, by complaining to payment processors who then tried to enforce this stuff on Steam, and there we are. Now, Japan itself has had an issue with payment processors trying to take down certain websites. For example, even a simple otaku dating site came under the fire of payment processors a while back. This is all stuff I've covered thoroughly in the past, and I've mentioned this before, so I don't want to be too redundant here. The point is, this stuff's been going on, but now, as we discussed the other day too, and as you can see here on screen, Japanese politician Kurishida, well, he became aware of Collective Shout, this Australia-based feminist organization. We have an update on that because he has issued a follow-up statement. It's not looking good for Collective Shout, although there is unfortunately also some bad news, which we'll get to in this video after the good news. So we previously read this. Let's get to the new statement. The legendary Madame Savvy had talked about, as we just talked about, how Collective Shout was called out by Japanese politician Kurishida by name. Kurishida saw Madame Savvy's tweet, responded to it saying, "Madame Savvy, thank you for sharing the information about Collective Shout. I believe that these escalating movements to restrict expression have the potential to shrink and destroy the global content industry. The reality of these movements is still largely unknown in Japan, so and show more here, let's continue. The reality of this movement is still largely unknown in Japan, so I would like to inform the Japanese public and also deliver it to the Diet." For those who don't know, that is the government of Japan. "I would be extremely grateful if you could provide me with any information. I would also be grateful if you could provide any information from the content industry or from overseas people who are trying to protect freedom of expression who are reading this." She responds and says, "Thank you, sir, for your reply in time, and most importantly, your efforts. I will privately message you shortly a lengthy DM organizing all my public research so far and get you any other political ties I have privately as well. Together, I hope we can make a brighter future for creatives all over the world." Kurishida responds and says, "Thank you again. I will check the information when I receive it. Let's work together to protect freedom of expression." So yeah, you really got to hand it to Madame Savvy. I mean, this was handled very, very well, and what a dub for her. Collective Shout is not happy about this, by the way, it seems, because they've protected their account. Now, guys, there is a lot going on. I think it's a combination of things. You know, Japan looking into this further, people all over the internet criticizing Collective Shout, also criticizing them for their ties to promoting cuties and whatnot. You know, these are all things that people are saying online and criticism that Collective Shout is receiving. So I think it's a combination of these factors. But as mentioned, Collective Shout, they seem like they're kind of going to hiding now, which is especially comedic because these are people that were bragging the other day. And for a number of days, they were bragging about the censorship that they got these payment processors to enact. And now they're hiding. You can see it for yourself right here. We go over to Twitter, we go to @CollectiveShout, this is their account, and what do you know? Protected mode, guys. Yeah, these posts are protected. All that bragging, and now just hiding. This is something you see often online. Some of these internet activists or Twitter police or, you know, these sort of people, they'll go after a group online. They will try to get them censored, or they'll make some sort of hit piece about them, some sort of smear campaign, X, Y, and Z. You know how it is. And I think you know where this is going to. And when people criticize them for their actions, and or people start looking into these groups or those people who engage in this sort of actions against others, start seeing the skeletons they got in their closet, well, they always like either play victim or go into hiding or some combination of the above. And check this out. We're not done yet. Kurishida had a follow-up post. He says directly on his account now, "I've received a lot of information from overseas, including Savvy-san at Madame Savvy. In addition to the Australian group Collective Shout, which has been pressuring Steam to regulate expression, the American group NCOSE, which has been in existence since 1962, is also calling for Steam to strengthen its regulations. This is no longer speculation. They themselves are promoting these as their track record on HP and X. Further analysis is needed to determine, quote, why global platforms and credit card brand related companies accept the appeal of these groups, unquote. But since these are the source of expression regulation, the side that protects them will need to cooperate with overseas forces. We will continue to move forward." But I did mention that there was also bad news. Before we get to that, though, let's start with a meme, shall we? So, Running with Scissors. These are the guys who made Postal, right? Hopefully I'm not wrong about that. I'm 99.9% sure. This is like the Postal meme. What was like the original context of this? In game, they were demanding violent games get censored. I think that's the context, right? And so they've revived the meme and changed it to be collective shout instead of whatever the like in-universe group was. So that's pretty funny. Gosh, I played that back in post-production. I explained that so poorly. In-universe, in-game, this was like a group of like activists who were demanding violent games get censored. If you don't know Postal, it's a very violent game, so that's the joke. They're like showing people against those games in their own game. Now they changed it for collective shout. Probably most people watching this already understood that, but for anyone who's not familiar with this stuff, there you go. It's a better explanation. Moving on to the bad news. We hop over to the Twitter account of the one and only person who has monopolized ban milk. Of course, I'm talking about Permaband, who says collective shout also went after itch.io, and itch.io bent. Posting a screenshot of this official update from itch.io, where they say update on NSFW content. We have de-indexed, quote unquote, all adult NSFW content from our browse and search pages. We understand this action is sudden and disruptive. We are truly sorry for the frustration and confusion caused by this change. And look at this, second paragraph. Recently, we came under scrutiny from our payment processors regarding the nature of some content hosted on itch.io due to a game titled No Mercy, which was temporarily available on itch.io before being banned back in April. Permaband also pointing out how back on January 3rd, 2022, itch.io did make a tweet that reads, "Warning. Itch.io is not for prudes. If you click our link, please be careful about what you might see." It gets cut off there, but we can see the full screenshot does say, before being banned back in April, the organization called Collective Shout launched a campaign against Steam and itch.io, directing concerns to our payment processors about the nature of certain content found on both platforms. And like we said before, these people will simultaneously go after video games online and turn around and defend freaking cuties on Netflix. The main account for their organization had like, I think around 10 tweets that I saw promoting and or defending cuties. And multiple of their members were doing the same thing on their own accounts too. So we're probably talking about well over a dozen, maybe dozens of tweets that these people all made on their various accounts promoting and defending cuties. Some of them would even try to save face a little bit, saying things like, while we don't fully agree with everything in cuties, we overall do think it's a positive thing and people should watch it. And it's like, bro, there's nothing positive about it. There's no defending that. These people are sick. There's one last thing I want to show you in this video to end on a very much hilarious and positive note. Over on our games, they would talk about this itch.io update that we just went over. But take a look at this top response. If reports are to be believed and Collective Shout have around 1,000 people phoning up Visa/MasterCard, I think it's time to do the same and start clogging up their phone lines and email inboxes. Annoy them until they feel forced to reverse the decision. They show them MasterCard and Visa phone numbers and link to the emails, saying regardless of how you may feel about the content, NSFW or otherwise, payment processors should not have the power to tell people what they will and won't process. So you might have right now like thousands of people calling these companies, these massive corporations, like emailing them, like spamming them. Hey, Collective Shout. Hey, it's called Fighting Fire with Fire. What's good? Let's see what these payment processors think about this. And like I said before, I think there are definitely some higher ups, in my opinion, at these payment processors that completely support these actions and are like testing to see how much they can get away with, how much power they have. And they're playing a long game. You know, they want to have as much power and control over people and organizations, companies as they possibly can. And of course, this sort of thing would certainly entice politicians as well. So there probably is some sort of crossover here between certain politicians and these payment processors and abusing power, et cetera, et cetera. My point is, while I do think this can all be larger than Collective Shout, I still find it hilarious that people are using the tactics of Collective Shout against these payment processors. It's hilarious imagining how annoyed these corpos might be getting now. But I'll leave it there. It's really all there is to say about this one. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hopefully you enjoyed the coverage. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Have a great rest of your week. See you in the comments here and in the next one.